Hi. Okay, so I needed a break from working on this pattern. And I remembered that we talked about how I needed to talk about video games. So I've been talking a lot about Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. And um it so happens that I mentioned Infernal Machine, and I remember someone asked about that game. Infernal Machine. Yeah, you can see me there. So, Infernal Machine was kind of the sequel to Fate of Atlantis. I mean, it was like it touched on being the sequel. On the back, you can see Sophia Hapgood there. Again, sorry for like glare and all that. But yeah, she's right there. They did a better job with, I mean, Fate of Atlantis was released in 92. This was released, I believe, in 99. I think it was released my senior year of high school. So, Infernal Machine, it starts out. So, you're Indiana Jones and you're in the American desert. I believe the Arizona desert. Anyway, you're in the desert and, you're running around. Basically, the first level. Yeah, and I've got. A side note, my pattern is getting finished. I have my colors all lined up and everything, so I'm trying to get that. My computer like crashed. It shut down. It didn't crash so much, but so it's like I'm excited to get it finished, and my computer is deciding, no, you're not going to finish it. So I'm like frazzled to high heaven. But anyway, so that's what's going on here. So anyway, so the first level of Infernal Machine is basically to help you get the idea of how the controls work. And so you're running around the desert trying to work on like the whip and jumping and running and maneuvering and that sort of thing. Well, then it does a cutscene and you meet Sophia. The graphics. This is a thing I never understood about LucasArts. The Star Wars games were up to date with graphics. However, the Indiana Jones games, Fate of Atlantis was on the edge of being outdated. It was like, I don't know, it seemed outdated a little bit. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, but it worked for its time. Yeah, it did. I mean, we all loved it. It had points where it was like complete pixelated, and then other times where the pixelation looked um really neat, like you've seen in Prince of Persia where it looks like streaming water and or blinking lights, and it looked really neat. So it was like, why can't you do that throughout the rest of the game? But let's be fair, Fate of Atlantis was iconic. It's aged very well. With Infernal Machine, I'm wondering if it has. No. And I couldn't find a manual for this. But it's probably up in our computer room and I just couldn't find it. My dad would know. He's not here right now. So he is at work. So, but anyway, so that first level, the cutscene changes. Oh, I was talking about the graphics. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Um, The graphics are more blocky. I mean, like, you see their hands and they're like this throughout most of the game. I mean, and when he picks something up, it's just basically it's picked up. His hand is still like this, and it's just kind of inserted into his fist. It's not, the graphics aren't the best, but for 1999, they were okay. The storyline is actually pretty good. I'm not gonna say fantastic compared to Fate of Atlantis. This one is so, you know. However, I enjoy play. I miss playing Infernal Machine. I wish Steam. I don't know why Steam doesn't have it. However, you know, um, the other Indiana Jones games I was not impressed with. It was like after Infernal Machine, I would not play the other games. I was not happy with them. So you meet Sophia. She tells you what your adventure is, and you continue on. Basically, what you're trying to do is this game has Russians in it, so you're fighting the Russians. There aren't Nazis. There's Russians. So you're trying to stop the Russians from getting a hold of this so-called infernal machine, hence the name. So, you travel all over the place. You end up like in the island. You end up with a lot of different weapons. I remember, well, the one we used the most, my brother and I used the most, was the machete. It was either the machete or the whip. And this is the game that was actually funny to me because it did like this point in the game you were on an island. You ended up on an island, and because there was a tie-in to like World War II, so you had to go down and retrieve something from an old World War II plane, and then you had to travel around. You had to get there before the Russians did. And you had to retrieve this, but it seems like due to the game, I remember the first time this happened. The way that the game works, you end up captured by the Russians. They find you, and you end up on their ship, and then you've got to go, and then you find more stuff on the ship, on the Russian ship, and then you escape off the ship. So, and so it goes that way, and you just continue. But I remember the first time I was on the island and I ended up captured, and I'm like, oh no, what did I do wrong? And it was like, because of course this was before, the cheat sheets were popping up everywhere and you couldn't look to see, what you were doing wrong and that sort of thing. And there weren't forums everywhere that could tell you. So I was like, oh no. But it turned out I hadn't done anything wrong. Because he wakes up in a cell on a boat, on this huge tanker. So, and you end up like in the desert on King Solomon's mine, where it's supposed to be King Solomon's mine. And the puzzles are difficult. And that's what I liked about this one. The puzzles were difficult in Fate of Atlantis. They continued with that in this one. And the people that you run into are very interesting because you're traveling around, like, of course, with Fate of Atlantis, they were interesting. I mean, you had like Trottier, who sounded like Maurice Chevalier. If you don't know who Maurice Chevalier is, look him up. He was the guy, if you know Aristocats, if you know the movie Aristocats, the first song, the intro song, he's the singer for that. He was also in Gigi. He was like the uncle to the guy who fell in love with Gigi. Um, he's the one who sang "Thank Heaven for Little Girls." So that's Maurice Chevalier, and of course, Trottier sounded like him. And then, of course, when they were in Algiers, you had um, the nomads and then the guy with the red fez. My brother and I enjoyed him the most. Where he was like, "Join in the festivities." And but in Infernal Machine, they had characters like that too, and who would give Indiana Jones like helpful hints, and who gave him advice and that sort of thing. Of course, if you actually know the character, like if you've read the book, it kind of tied in the books as well, because if you read that, if you know the character, he's not very much of a spiritualist or anything like that. He doesn't believe in anything, but at the same time, he's this archaeologist who, it's just part of his profession. But a lot of the characters, especially the little boy that he runs into in the desert that is in front of the mines, I liked his character a lot because it seemed like, you know, he kept running into adults, and this little boy had a lot to say to Indiana. And it was like, I liked, I just liked that particular character in the game. Um, the there is a part where you have to work with this mine car. I think that's kind of a tribute to the Temple of Doom. Sometimes they did that in the games. You know how in the Star Wars games, you pretty much, there's really no need, but with the Indiana Jones games, they kind of put tribute to the movies. So there's a minecart thing, and you have to be really careful. That one, it was the hardest. That particular puzzle was the hardest in my mind to try and figure out. And but anyway, so the game itself, you don't really, and as for Sophia, she doesn't really pop up very much. It's like she gave you the quest. You find out that she was captured, and so then it's like, I gotta go save her at the same time that you're doing this. There's also a couple side quests, and one of them is you end up in Peru, and you're kind of reliving the Raiders, so you kind of have, I think it ties in all three movies. And so, but I don't remember it's been long enough, I don't remember Last Crusade. But the, um, the Raiders of the Lost Ark was, and when I was talking to my brother about it, he couldn't remember that one because you're standing in front of where the boulder was, and India's saying, "I had that idol in my hand." I remember the character saying that. But anyway, the game itself is is an interesting game. That, like I said, the graphics are more blocky. For 1999 standards, they were actually interesting. I mean, they worked. Not interesting. Got frazzled and everything. But I miss playing the game. I would love to play it again. I'm waiting for Steam to. I Once I saw that Steam had Fate of Atlantis, I made sure that I got that. They have Steam has Last Crusade from I think 1989. It was one that was released like when the movie was released. It hasn't aged well, but that was during a time when every movie, every TV show had a video game. So, and like a lot of my friends say, and even my brother, who is a big time gamer, a lot of those games were super glitchy during a time when you didn't really understand what glitchy was. And so, yeah, I mean, you knew that something was going on with the game, but I mean, you figured it was something else. But anyway, so Infernal Machine, like I said, it's pretty much it's kind of a sequel. I'm not going to say like a strong sequel to Fate of Atlantis. Sophia is in there. Not, I mean, she's got maybe 5 minutes in the entire game. And if you want to stretch it, 7 minutes. So, and most of her stuff is cutscene. So, but anyway, most of the places that you go are like a jungle thing. Like you went to the islands, and on the island, that's where you end up. There's a trick there where you can turn into Guybrush Threepwood, and we were trying. My brother and I were trying to figure out how to do that, and we didn't find out until after my dad had done this full upload or not upload but update on the computer, and we couldn't play the game anymore. So it was like, Dad, why? I mean, we still have the game, we still have the other one, and we could probably play it now and figure it out, but yeah. But we were trying to figure out how to do that, and we couldn't for the life of us figure out the code to do it. And but anyway, so yeah, there is a way to change Indy into Guybrush on this island, and so anyhow, so you don't just have a gun. Yeah, you don't just use the gun, and you don't just use the whip, because usually what Indiana Jones is given is a gun and a whip. No, you get to use a machete. It seems like there's like 3 other weapons that you use, and you also end up in Peru. It seems like you go back to Tikal, but don't quote me on that. And of course you end up in Egypt, and oh gosh, those scorpions. Let me tell you something. So, quick little thing. If you ever get the chance to play this game, I'm going to give you this hint. Oh gosh. Because we were playing this game and we were trying to figure out how to kill those damn scorpions. Do not get out of the car. You'll understand it when you start playing it. Do not get out of that car. Because we were like, okay, so get out of the car and start using your whip or the machete. Do not get out of the car. Use the car. Run those suckers over. I'm telling you right now, I'm saving your life. Because those things will come at you. Because what happens is that as soon as you whip one, they're like the chickens in Legend of Zelda. You start hitting one, they all come at you and they start stinging you. Use that car, run those damn things over. So, yeah, um, I just saved your life. If you ever play the game, if you ever get the chance to play the game, when you end up in Egypt, or I don't remember where exactly, but it is in like, I think it is the Egyptian desert because it's in like, and you're supposed to be at King Solomon's mine. Before you can actually move on, you have to kill those little fuckers. And so, but my brother and I were stupid enough. We're like, okay, get out of the car and machete the crap out of these things. We finally figured it out when we kept dying. We're like, wait, stay in the car, run him over. I'm saving your life. I'm saving you so much time on trying to figure out what to do. And I like the little Nubian boy. I don't remember his name, but he is so. I don't know who decided on putting him in, but I like his character a lot. And he just has like 5 minutes in the whole game. I wish he would have had more. He would have come in again. But I mean, it's like Indiana tries to be kind of a smartass, and the little boy puts him in his place, and I love it. There's an old woman, and she puts Indy in his place. You know, he finishes his quest. There's a lot of times where he finishes, he kills off a boss, and he meets up with these people, and they send them off to his next, the next level. And this older lady, I think he was in Russia when this happened. I don't remember for sure, but she was an older lady, and she was trying to explain to him that beauty is within. It was kind of like the whole Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, and he was trying to be a smartass, and she and she knocked him down a few pegs. So I like the message that this game brings as well. It's like, you know what? So, and that's one thing that I miss about the games, the LucasArts games, because that was something that they were trying to show kids, was that, they weren't just games, they were giving advice to the kids as well, and explaining morals and stuff. So, but anyway, that's Infernal Machine. I really miss playing this game. My brother said to me when I picked this up, he says, "Are you going to put it um on your device?" And I said, "Oh no, my device couldn't handle it right now." I would love to. Probably once I get a new device, I'll put it on. But or if Steam puts Infernal Machine on. But anyway, if you ever look it up, yeah, I highly recommend playing it. It was a lot of fun to play. It has a lot of nostalgia to the game. I mean, it shows homage to the game. I mean, to the games. Shows homage to the movies. I don't remember a lot of crossover with Star Wars, but I mean, it's been so long since I played it. I think the last time I played it was in 2002. So, but you know what? LucasArts crossed over so much. So, I can only imagine that there was a crossover here and there. So anyway, I highly recommend checking it out, trying to find it where to play and everything. So, it's a neat game to play.